Hello, fellow Earthlings. The next letter in my alphabetical spiritual voyage is to reflect upon the letter O. In my chat with my brother last week, he suggested I should talk about obedience, and I think it's a fine word indeed. And over the last 10 years, I've been reading this daily devotional. Interestingly, there are 3 days dedicated to talk about obedience in context of what Jesus was teaching us. Now, what is obedience? It's a very basic word. Every society, to live in harmony, has a set of rules and laws, even in your family. And those, by obeying them, we maintain harmony and balance and civility in our society and in our homes. Now, it's a common factor across different faiths and secular society. What does it mean from a Christian perspective? And that's what I'd like to reflect upon today. So Jesus brings about this topic in different chapters in the gospel and in few verses. So the ones that I want to highlight are these. Mark chapter 3 verses 1 to 6. This story is about where Jesus heals somebody on Sabbath. Now, the Jewish tradition, the Israelites were given the 10 commandments by Moses, one of which was not to keep Sabbath as a day of rest. So when Jesus healed somebody, he did not take rest. And so the Pharisees objected to it. That made him very sad because their hearts were really hardened. They didn't really understand what the laws meant because they were not doing it with feeling, without understanding what really God wanted them to do behind those laws. So he says in Mark chapter 3 verse 4, which is lawful on the Sabbath, to do good or to do evil, to save life or to kill? We can see that even today. In the pandemic, there's been a furor about wearing masks. Now, it is known that by doing it, you're helping save lives. But there are Christians who wouldn't do it. Now, if you're really a Christian, are you really understanding what this means, or are you being just hypocritical like the Pharisees? So that's what Jesus wants us to get deeper into and understanding what it means. He further clarifies what it means to be obedient to him. What does really that means, right? So he says in John chapter 14 verse 50, if you love me, you will obey what I command. And what was that Jesus commanded? It was just really only 2 commandments that he gave, which sums up all the 10 that Moses gave. 1, love your God above all else. 2, love your neighbor as yourself. If you really did that, you would in effect take care of everything else. For instance, thou shalt not kill, which is there in every society. But in America, you see the racial injustice that's happening. Are you really obeying the law when you take life like that gunman did in that protest because he thought he was self-professed law enforcement? That's something all these Christians need to think about, because if you're a Christian in America, it is time to reckon what it really means to be a Christian. And Jesus says that. If you knew the gospel, you would know too. Lastly, he says in Luke chapter 11:20, blessed are those who hear the word of God and obey it. So therefore, if you really have to obey the word of God, you have to add an element of love in it. Then you would understand the meanings of the laws and why we need to follow it. If we do that, we would live in a much better society than what we are seeing today. So, as everyone, Christian or otherwise, need to really reflect upon what these simple tenets mean, because it all sums up. If you love your neighbor as yourself, you are not going to cause harm, and that's important to understand. So therefore, be good Christians, be good people, follow the law, which is with a heart, and therefore we can all live in a more peaceful and happy society. Thank you.